Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the C-Man, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the C-Man's Cinema Sit-Down. I tell you, man, feels good to be home. I haven't been in this chair for anything in a very, very long time. As you guys know, I stepped away for a bit, and even before then, I just, life was so busy. Most of the things I was doing was, reactions right out of the theater or trailer reactions on my couch. So it's been a while since I've been in the chair. I'm not even sure the PS5 has debuted on the channel yet. Maybe it has. I'm not really entirely sure. Anyway, I digress, man, because I'm here. I'm back in the chair. Talk about a movie. A really big movie. And I think it's the perfect movie to bring me back to the chair. I don't know. You might know what I'm talking about. You might not. But if you don't, hey, why don't you pull up a chair? Take a seat. We are getting ready to dive in spoiler-free. We ain't talking any spoilers in this one. I'm going to keep this spoiler-free. But we are getting ready to dive in to Spider-Man No Way Home. Oh, my goodness, man. I mean, you guys saw my fresh out the theater reaction. Me and my pops went to go see the movie. I got a kick out of him last night, man. We were doing the scores. And sometimes my scores change between right out the theater and the non-spoilers. So this isn't a spoiler in any way, but I gave it a 5, and then I asked my dad how many C-Maniacs he was giving it, and he goes 5. And then he's like, nah, 5 Wild Willies. Totally caught me off guard. I was not ready for him to say that. So I got to have a little fun with that. If you haven't seen my fresh out the theater reaction and review, you should 100% check that out. It's right up there. I'm telling you, you will get a kick out of my dad. He might end up taking over this channel for me because he was so freaking funny last night. Thanks again, Dad, for coming. I love you so much. That was a lot of fun. But wow, man. I mean, like I said, you saw our fresh out the theater. We were blown away by this movie. And what's crazy is this thing's huge, right? Like, this movie is our first MCU multiverse story on the big screen. And that's a lot to juggle. That's a lot to handle. And if you were following me back in 2019 when Spider-Man Far From Home came out, my immediate thought after that movie was, all right, so, Jon Watts likes to do this home thing, so Spider-Man just had his identity revealed to everybody. No home. Spider-Man's got no home. Spider-Man no home. I was so close. So close. But the other thing that I thought, too, was that, okay, so now Spider-Man's on the run. Let's bring out all his villains. Kind of create a Sinister Six. But if you're hunting Spidey, the guy that should be doing the hunting is Kraven the Hunter. And I said way back then, I was like, that would make a ton of sense, man. You do, like, a Last Hunt style movie to wrap the Jon Watts trilogy. Like, that would be dope. And then the pandemic hits. And I've been theorizing this for a long time, and a week or so ago, Holland actually came out and said the first thing that was kind of pitched to him was a Kraven the Hunter story, which, in my head, I was like, yeah, I was spot on, man. Like, I locked in with you, Jon Watts. But I was like, yeah, that would make the most sense, right? He's revealed, have his villains come out, maybe you form a Sinister Six, but Kraven the Hunter needs to be the big bad, and you do the Last Hunt. You gotta have some comic book fans going nuts. But then the pandemic hits, and Feige starts to move things around. And all of a sudden, Spider-Man found itself positioned perfectly to be the thing to kind of kick off the big screen multiverse story. And as Tom Holland confirmed, Jon Watts and co. kind of had to go rework some things. But even with all of that stuff going on, the thing that I love so much from Jon Watts, Chris McKenna, Erik Sommers, is that this movie's huge. This is a big MCU movie. This sets up a lot of things for what's coming. But this is a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. Like, nobody you've seen talk in interviews, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Holland, Zendaya, they've all been saying what they've been saying. And it's 100% true. This is a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, and it's probably, for me, the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. I still think, deep down, I like Far From Home a little bit more than this because Mysterio is my dude, and they did it so perfectly. But from a Tom Holland perspective as Peter Parker, this is the movie, man. This is the best performance I've seen Holland give, man. There's just so many things that he's juggling in this movie, and things that he can control and things that he can't control. And it's, like I said, at the heart of this movie, watching Tom Holland do some of the best work he's done in the franchise, but in a story that is so, it is about him, man. And it is the perfect third movie to wrap up this Jon Watts trilogy. And I mean, all the kudos and credit in the world to Jon Watts. From a directing standpoint, this thing is so much fun, even though it is bigger, even though it is a legitimate, like, huge MCU movie. All the things that made those first two Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland so much fun, they're in here, man. Watts keeps the beats, and if anything, I would just say that Jon Watts upgraded as a director, man. Like, he showed you with this movie, he could handle an Avengers-level movie. I mean, you got 5 huge villains, all from different Spider-Man movies in this thing, and he gives everybody time. He gives everybody, their moment on the screen. Like, just what he does behind the camera. I was super impressed because right from the get, once it was announced that this was going to be a multiverse movie, I was like, that kind of sucks, man, because that doesn't feel like what Jon Watts was trying to do with his trilogy. This was, with everything going on in the MCU outside of the Iron Man ties, like, this has been solely a Spider-Man series, and it's been so long since we've seen, like, a solo trilogy. There was a part of me that was like, damn, man, I'm a little disappointed that Jon Watts is going to have to change up what he's doing, and he does. But like I said, I think that's an upgrade, and he still gives you all the things that you love about what Jon Watts does with these Spider-Man movies. This feels like it's part of the trilogy, and much like they've been saying, this is definitely the conclusion of this Jon Watts trilogy, and he knocked it out of the ballpark. But if I'm going to be praising Jon Watts, I got to be praising Chris McKenna and Erik Sommers. What they do with this story, it was so impressive. And like Tom Holland said, the original thing pitched to him had Kraven the Hunter in it. There was some serious reworking, I think, that had to be done by these two guys. And, man, did they just roll with the punches and develop something. I know that they had to work hard to get this movie where they wanted it to be. And I think they did, man. I mean, Sommers and McKenna give you everything you're looking for in this movie, man. Like, there is some fluff in here, in a movie that doesn't necessarily feel like it needs fluff. There's a little bit of it, but I promise you, anything in here that a critic might critique as far as like pacing or story structure kind of being a little wonky, trust me, they did it for the fans and they nailed what they did. Like, I'm so happy for what they gave Tom Holland with this one, man, because like I said, this is, I think, some of the most emotional stuff that Tom Holland's had to do, and he's done some pretty big emotional stuff in these movies in the past, and I was so impressed with the story that they developed, knowing that this was not their original thought, right? Like, when you have a trilogy mapped out, or you're working on a trilogy, you kind of have an arc, and then to find out that the third movie needs to change a bit, I think Sommers and McKenna did a wonderful job of doing what you need to do to make this an MCU movie, but never losing the heart of Tom Holland's Peter Parker. That was so instrumental to this thing really working for me, and for everybody, man. Everybody that comes from these Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, like, they all get great things to do throughout, and there are surprises, and there is tension, and there are scares, and there are moments to cheer. Like, these three guys, Watts, McKenna, and Sommers, give you everything you want in a big Spider-Man movie, man. And this was one of the most fun times I've had in a theater in a long time, and also one of the most emotional. You guys know I'm dealing with the loss of my sister, and same for my dad, dealing with the loss of his daughter, and there were just things in this movie that definitely connected with the two of us in a very, very personal way. There's a moment where Holland actually is like talking, and I thought he was just talking straight to me, man. Like, it was so much more than a movie at times, and it was just, wow, man, and it just gave me a stronger tie and connection to this one, which makes this, I think, my favorite Spider-Man movie, man. There's just so many cool things going on, and those three guys at the helm deserve all the credit. Now, like I said, they pack in surprises, they pack in the action, the visual effects are amazing, the score is fantastic. Jon Watts likes to have some needle drops in his movies. He's got some of that. Like I said, this movie still feels like the home, like the home movie, whether we're Far From Home or No Way Home or Homecoming, like, it feels like it belongs in that trilogy, and I was just so impressed with what they put on screen. But you can only be impressed with what's on screen so much. You know, you need your actors, and like I said, Tom Holland is the best version of the character I think we've gotten from him. I think everything that he has learned in playing the character and being the character, and everything the character has gone through in his story, just kind of teed him up to deliver, I think, one of the best Spider-Man performances we've ever seen. I think what Holland brings this time around, I mean, one just shows you where he can go with Spider-Man. You know, we're getting 3 more, and the sky's the limit for this kid. But I think this movie really shows his range as an actor. He does a lot in this movie, man. I mean, from comedy to heartfelt moments to just crazy action, and like I said, a very complicated story that, at the heart, like, has Peter driving this thing and doing things that make Peter Parker Peter. And that's one of the other things too I love about this movie, is talking about what makes Peter Peter. You know, like, he's in the world and everybody now knows who he is. So all the things that make Peter Parker special, I think, are shown in a different way this time around, because even when the mask is on, everybody knows who he is. So it's, as much as it's Spider-Man doing things, it's Peter Parker pretty much this whole movie. And I've never seen a Spider-Man movie where you could say that. And I think Holland just handles it flawlessly, man. He's so freaking good. I'm so glad he's coming back for 3 more. I think he's a bit apprehensive about it. He didn't want to be Spider-Man past 30, but Tom Holland, somehow if you land on this review and you're listening to this right now, like, you mean so much to us as Spider-Man fans, and we have so much fun. None of us are ready to not have you around, and just keep having a blast doing these, because one day they're not going to be there, and you might miss them, man, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, if Tom Holland, you're listening, that's my advice. As a 35-year-old, I would be putting on the suit if I could, man. He's so damn good. And he carries this thing brilliantly. Like I said, this is a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie at its core. So yeah, all phenomenal things from Tom. Then you got Zendaya as MJ. I've loved her for forever in these movies. I mean, even when she had the littlest amount of screen time you could possibly give her, to the beginning of their relationship to where they are in this movie. What she does with this character continues to make her the most interesting thing on screen at all times. Like, anytime Zendaya lays out a line or just says something or does something, you're like, I'm so much more interested in this moment and what she's doing than anything else that's going on, man. Like, there are very few actors that could be in a movie like a Spider-Man movie and make you go, I don't care about any of the crazy stuff going on. I just want to know what's going on with this woman right here. And she continues to do that. And again, much like Tom Holland's Peter Parker evolves, there's an evolution going on with MJ, and there's some cool Easter eggs with her this time around, where I was like, ooh, that was a cool little thing that almost slipped right by me in the movie. Like, they do some subtle things, but she just gets to do all the stuff that she's been doing in a bigger way, because they give MJ and Ned probably the most that they've had to do in any movie, and you really get to see, the last 2 movies have been the forming of this little trio team for Tom Holland, and now you get to see these 3 in those spots actually working like a team, and that was a lot of fun to see. And Jacob Batalon continues to be phenomenal, man. I mean, he got me a couple times, man. There are a couple moments, like I said, that this movie has emotional moments in it, and there was a couple spots, man, where, like, Ned hit me, man. Like, I've never seen Jacob Batalon roll a tear, and, like, you're just, like, you're seeing some of these moments, and you're just, like, so emotionally connected to all these characters, and Batalon brings such a effortless charm to Ned, and I love that he's Peter's best friend, and I love now getting to see the 3 of them operate as best friends, because, MJ was sort of on the outside working her way in the last movie, and getting to see all 3 of them work together throughout the whole movie was just so much fun. And then, you got the brilliantly talented Marissa Tomei. I don't think she gets enough credit for what she's done as May Parker. Like, she is one of the best Aunt Mays. I'd probably give Sally Field the edge in the Aunt May department, because I just think age-wise and like what I'm familiar with Aunt May is a little bit more present in Field's performance. But Marissa Tomei is phenomenal, man. Like, she's such a good Aunt May, and being a little bit younger, I think there's almost feels like there's a stronger relationship and kinship to her and Peter's relationship, and especially because Aunt May knows, right? Like, I don't know, like, I feel like she's just been such a phenomenal Aunt May, and no one ever gives her that kind of credit. And this is one of the best Aunt May performances that she's given, for sure. Jon Favreau, obviously back as Happy Hogan. He's always fantastic. I love him. But then we got a whole slew of new characters in this movie. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch coming in as Doctor Strange. So much fun. I've been suspicious of this Strange for a long time. I'm still a little suspicious of this Strange. But I think this is spoilers. I think this is our Doctor Strange, and what he does this time out, man. Like, you're just starting to see, because I've rewatched the Doctor Strange movie, and throughout I think all of these experiences, you've just kind of seen Strange get to a place where he's more comfortable being jokey or funny, like, or quippy. So, like, I don't know, man, but they asked him to do things I haven't seen him do as Doctor Strange in this movie, and all of it's phenomenal. And, you know, I mean, that's the jokey stuff. Like, the reasons you put Doctor Strange in a Spider-Man movie are reasons for moments like that trailer, in the trailer, right? Where he's like, go Scooby-Doo this-ish, you know what I mean? And they're like, we you know, MJ's like, you know, I know some magic spells that start with please. Like, he played into that stuff so well throughout the whole movie. But when he's got to do the Doctor Strange stuff, he's great. And what they give him to do in this movie... you know, he's got a decent chunk in here, but like I said, this is a Peter Parker Spider-Man movie. So, you know, you don't have as much Doctor Strange as I think some of us would have thought there might have been in this movie. But how he plays it, why him and Peter are on opposing sides, and how this all wraps up and what it sets up for Doctor Strange, I'm gonna just say spoilers. Second post-credit scene, you've probably heard this already, I'm not gonna say it, but it has something to do with Doctor Strange, and there are cool things coming. I'm very excited for Benedict Cumberbatch and how he'll play into this multiverse story. But as he functioned for Doctor Strange inside this movie with Peter Parker, the chemistry between him and Holland is great. There's a lot of combativeness to that, but there's also this we save the world together stuff where, like, it's an interesting relationship. I think Cumberbatch handles it flawlessly. Now, everybody else that comes from Spider-Man's world is great. You know, there's not a ton for everybody, but Tony Revolori brings some wonderful stuff as Flash, and Gory Rice back as Betty Brant. Doctor Strange side, Benedict Wong obviously is involved in this movie. He's funny as well. I always love him, but there are 5 new characters in this Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, and they are 5 former villains for us. We are, of course, talking about Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, Alfred Molina as Dr. Otto Octavius, Dr. Octopus, Thomas Hayden Church as the Sandman, which comes from the Tobey Maguire movies, and then, of course, you get, Rhys Ifans as Dr. Connors, a.k.a. the Lizard, and, of course, Jamie Foxx as Electro. And I tell you, man, it was so much fun to watch these 5 reprise their roles. They all brought back things from those movies. They all get moments that, like, when they arrive and they come in, like, the place is gonna go ballistic, man, because there are things about these characters and things about these actors that, you know, some of them may have gotten a little shortchanged or we wanted to see more from them. Somebody like Sandman. And you get to have all of these characters get their moments and they all really pop. But... you know, as much as I love, Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman and, Rhys Ifans as the Lizard, I would say of the 5 in total, they probably get the least amount of screen time and character development, but highly enjoyed both of their performances and how those characters work into this movie. But from the villain standpoint, for me, this one is all about Dafoe, Molina, and Fox. I think they're the 3 strongest villains in this movie. I think they're the 3 villains that get the most kind of story action out of this one. And they're the 3 that pop the biggest. I mean, Jamie Foxx looks so much cooler as a more classic-looking Electro. The way they used the electricity to give him the mask was so cool. But as a character... you know, where they take Max in this movie and how they use him and how he kind of functions throughout. Like, I thought it was a really nice addition to Max's story. And again, I think the thing that's always been great about Spider-Man villains is that there is some sort of empathy. You can empathize with all of them. There are good people at the root of all of these. And getting to see these actors come back as these characters and show you signs of that goodness and signs of that baddiness, is a lot of fun. And I thought Jamie Foxx crushed that stuff. Alfred Molina probably gets the most screen time, spoilers, out of all of the villains, which I think was kind of to be expected based on what we saw in the trailers. It's like he never stopped playing the role, man. Like it honest to God feels like before he falls into that water with that unnatural sun that he has in that movie, like it feels like they just took him and put him in right from that moment. Like it honestly feels like him and Dafoe never skipped a beat. And getting to watch Molina do what he does this time as Doc Ock and what they give him, I thought he had a lot of fun. I thought that he reminded you how scary Doc Ock can be, but also reminded you Dr. Otto Octavius is in there. And, you get some Octavius moments, specifically with Peter. Like, it's just really cool, and it does feel like they're all direct continuations. And then you've got easily, I think, the best villain out of all the villains in this grouping. Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin. The dude is a legend, man. And, again, like I said, Norman Osborn is a character that you can kind of relate to, you can kind of empathize with. And I think Dafoe finds that balance, much like he did in those original Spider-Man movies, of being Norman and being the Green Goblin. And I love the way that the movie kind of sets both sides of every character up in a way and kind of presents this issue that Peter's got to solve. But Dafoe, man, I mean, he's just so damn good. And we've seen the reveal of the alteration to his costume, putting his face on screen more than in a mask. Absolute genius, man. I mean, what he can do in animating his face that you could never get in a mask. It was just so much fun to watch him relish doing that stuff on screen this time. I had a blast with all of these villains, and they were all phenomenal, man. But in general, I mean, this movie is just, it's doing so much, and yet, like I said, it has the heart of Spider-Man dead center. Like, you never feel like this wasn't a Jon Watts part of his trilogy. Even though it's juggling some really big things. So, dude, this movie soars, man. It's thwipping, unbelievable. You are going to leave webbing all over the theater. I promise you that, man. Like, if you're a Spider-Man fan, this is maybe the best thing we've ever gotten in the Spider-Man world. And I love this thing. I had so much fun. I can't wait to talk spoilers with you guys, because there's obviously, some big-time spoilers and things that are being set up in the MCU, but oh, man. And like I said, make sure you stay through the post-credits. You got the animated credit. There'll be a scene, and then at the end, there's a big thing. But, man, like, everything about this movie was just flawless for me. Like I said, I think there's some people who could say, the pacing in the middle gets a little weird. There's a little bit of fluff. The movie kind of changes. All of those things happen for a reason. And a lot of that is fan service, and it's fan service that we want, man. Like, I'm a fan. I love fan service. I don't think Marvel does fan service better than everybody. And if you were going to criticize, pacing or maybe the second act a little bit, it's because they're baking in that fan service that gets all the cheers. Like I said, I haven't cheered this much in a movie since Endgame. It was nuts, man. I had such a good time. It was so cool to be in a theater full. I know COVID is rearing its head again with this Omicron, but it was neat, at least for one moment in a 2.5-year stretch, that, like, I felt like it was normal, man. Like, the place was packed, people cheering. It was such a great time. I love this movie. I'm going to get the C-Maniacs up. I'm not even going to restate what I usually do. This is a 5 out of 5 C-Maniacs for me, man. I mean, this movie blew me away. I loved it so damn much. I've been talking for way too much on a non-spoiler review. Oh, man, I miss being in this chair. I miss talking like this to you guys. I hope you all enjoy having me back in this type of a capacity. But I am legitimately going to shut up before I do spoil something for this movie. But everybody that's involved, everything about it, it's amazing. Go out, see Spider-Man No Way Home. If you don't have tickets, you might be looking for a little bit. But find a ticket, man. Go see this movie. It's a must-watch. 5 out of 5 C-Maniacs for me. I'm done. Now it's your turn. The movie's been out for less than 24 hours at this point. So I want to know what you're thinking. If you haven't seen the movie, what are you looking forward to? What are you hoping for? What about what I said got you excited? And if you have seen it, no spoilers! But what was popping? What did you love? How does this fit into the Watts trilogy? What did you think of the performances? Where is Holland at this point as Spider-Man? Are you pumped for more? Are you ready for multiverse stuff? What's going on in your head? I want to know all of it down below in the comments section. Look forward to talking to you all down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailer, reactions. I'm going to get caught up on some stuff that I've been behind. It'll be slow, but we'll get there. You want to be here for that stuff. You want to be here for my spoiler review. You just like what I'm doing. You want to show a little love and support to the old C-Man when he can always need some of that, man. Then there's something super easy to do. All you got to do is join C-Maniac Nation. It's a fun time, and you can do that by jumping over there, hitting that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts, and until next time, for the C-Man's Cinema, sit down. I've been the C-Man, and I am signing off. Peace.
Oh, hey, what's going on? You must be sticking around because you're looking for more content featuring this guy. Well, guess what? You're in the right place. You can check out more videos right here and right here. And if you have and you want to come join that C-Maniac Nation, you can hit that subscribe right over there.